And welcome back, everybody. We are here with week 8. We're now at the halfway point of the college football season. Hey, it's flying by a little faster than I would want it to, but hey, it's been good. I For the first time in a long time, I can say that the SEC is more week to week than it has been in a long time, where you don't know which team you're going to get, no matter what the game is, no matter who the opponent is. You don't know who you're going to get week in and week out, and it makes for great football, but it's really hard to tell going into games, hey, who's got the clear cut advantage versus any other teams, because you've got a bunch of teams that should be blowing out people actually hanging in with people and got upsets everywhere. And it's a great season of football for the new playoff format and everything. So as we get closer and closer to this race, and we should have the weekly shows coming up for the rankings here in a couple weeks pretty soon also. So I think the lines for these games this week are as close as I've been seeing as far as game to game basis. But to kick it everything off, you got the noon game, Missouri at home taking on Auburn. Missouri is a team coming off of their get right game against UMass last week, and it really was that. Just, hey, figure out some stuff, get back to your identity, figure out who you want to be. And then you got an Auburn team coming in to play them. Mizzou, surprisingly to me, is only a 4.5 point favorite at home in a noon game against Auburn, which is very surprising to me. Because for me, Auburn, I think, has way more issues than a lot of people, expect for them to have right now. Um, but for me, I think this is an easy pick for me. I'm going Mizzou at home. I think they'll handle Auburn. I think Auburn's kind of in that flux of the bottom tier of the SEC right now. Of teams, I don't really see many bright spots of any kind of week to week stuff that they can build on to get an upset right now. But I gotta go with Mizzou in this one by anywhere from 14 to 21 point win.
Yeah, I'm right there with you as well. I got Mizzou taking this one. I think when you think about what Mizzou was before, I think they're a team that just struggles against physical opponents. So I think that's why the point spread is where it's at right now. I think it will grow a little bit as the week go on. I think we're recording this pretty early in the week. So when you think about what the game will be, I think Mizzou is going to be a heavy favorite. I think it's going to be an easy win. As long as Mizzou can stick with their efficiency and consistency. I think that's one thing that they showed in UMass that they can really do and find their run game, also with a defensive swarming capability of being able to just really get around the football more than what we've seen in the past. So I think Mizzou has capabilities of winning these type of games. I think this is something that is very capable for them. So I just want to see them get it done. Continue to be the team you are. Continue to shine the areas that you are good at and your identity. And I think we've seen that in this week's game against UMass. So against Auburn, just show that you continue to be the team that we thought you are. Nothing great, but middle of the pack.
I'm gonna go completely opposite here. I think Auburn is due. Now, I have not seen anything from Auburn that that leads me to believe that they're gonna win this football game, with the exception of the fact that they have to have this game. Hugh Freeze has to have this game if he plans on being the head coach on the Plains next year. He's got to have this game. He's got to start building on something, because right now he's shown absolutely nothing. And this is so outside of the Hugh Freeze that I thought was going to be the head coach at Auburn. Again, I still think Missouri is extremely overrated. I think Auburn's going to come into this game looking unlike they've looked all season. They're going to come in with a defined game plan. Peyton Thorne is going to actually complete some passes. He's going to actually use his legs in this game. Missouri is not really good against the run. Peyton Thorne does have an ability to do some things that we haven't seen yet this season, but we've got to see at some point in time. Auburn cannot go the rest of this season looking the way that they're looking. Something has to change. It's got to be different at some point in time. And I'm thinking it's going to be this weekend that change actually happens. Don't mean they're going anywhere necessarily, but they need a win, and they got to have a win. Hugh Freeze understands his job is on the line. I've got Auburn in a nail biter by 3. Auburn with the win in this game. Can't believe I just said that.
I think you're right. I think Auburn is due for a win, but I don't think they got the pieces right now, though, Sean.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I'm just thinking that they're going to band together and get one this weekend because they need it that bad.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, the next game we got 12:45 kickoff. We got Oklahoma taking on South Carolina. Oklahoma coming out of their blowout loss to Texas in the Red River rivalry. South Carolina played a tough game at Alabama. I think this is now, if you've asked anybody before the season, and this is everybody who watches this knows South Carolina's my team, and so I'm going to harp more on them than I will on Oklahoma. But going at this point in the season, nobody in the beginning of the year said that this is exactly where we thought we would be at 3-3. If you got here because you knew one of these 3 games, the Ole Miss, the Alabama, and the Oklahoma game, you needed to get one, and this was always your best bet coming into this game. Oklahoma has as many problems as South Carolina has on the offensive side of the ball. Oklahoma has them worse, in my opinion. They have their O-line problems are worse. The freshman QB is a little erratic and you get the turnovers. But harping back on South Carolina, I think they're going into this part of the season where they wanted to be. And I think I messaged y'all, I think the other day saying, I don't think there's another game, including Clemson, on South Carolina's schedule that's not winnable. The defense for South Carolina is for real. And because of that defense, they are going to be in every single game that they play from here on out. There's no more juggernaut offenses that's going to just take them by surprise and knock them out the game. There's no more quarterbacks. I think all of their toughest opponents have already happened outside of or after the Bama game. All of your juggernauts. And if you go into this season and you tell me that you have a freshman quarterback, this is first, redshirt freshman, whatever it is, this is his first season starting, that within his first 5 games, because he didn't play in the Akron game, he's going to play 3 top 15 teams, 2 of them being top 10 teams. And out of those 2 top 10 losses, you lose by a combined 5 points. I'll take it. It's progress, especially for this South Carolina team. You go years in the past, anytime you go on the road to any environment, it could be an easy test, it could be a hard test. South Carolina has been known to go on the road and get beat bad, especially under Shane Beamer. But this year, you're starting to see stuff differently from this football team. The way that they were able to pick themselves up after the devastating loss that they took to Ole Miss showed a lot of resiliency, and that goes back to coaching. The Shane Beamer, this staff is able to get them up and ready to play ball games after losses, and it's something I love to see. And one thing we know about the SEC is that defense travels, no matter where you're going to. If your defense is right, your defense can go and play anywhere, and I think that'll give them the chance to get this win at Oklahoma, which I think they will. I think this is going to be the turning point for the season, and later in the season is when Shane Beamer's teams usually start playing better. And this is going to be the rolling ball for this team to, hey, get that first win. You've been battling. You've had some close losses. Now it's time to get the ball rolling, get everything rolling. Because after this, you got a bye, and you got A&M at home. You get a win here, go on your bye, get A&M at home. That place is going to be absolutely rocking. It's the last night game of the season. You get all your momentum back right here starting this week. And the only gripes I'm going to say about South Carolina that has really gotten under my skin, and there's 2 issues right now. Shane's got to get rid of the OC. Dow Loggins cannot stay here another year. And I tell you, I know as much as you want to say, oh, we want to be the pro-style offense and this and that, it's just his play calling to me, even watching the Bama game. It's just a lot of the times it looks great, but more than not, it just makes you sit there and scratch your head as to why are you calling these certain plays at these moments in these ball games, and just looks completely lost. And for a young quarterback, it seems like you're constraining him to doing certain things instead of just letting him kind of cut loose and go play. And the other thing outside of that is the O-line. The O-line has got to, you got to start benching people. Something's got to happen. You've got too many recruits that you've brought in that are big time guys from the O line that played last year that you haven't even given the chance to play this year. You finally got Rocket looking healthy again, which he did against Bama. He looked the closest to 100% in how he looked against LSU that he's looked in a couple weeks now. And Lenoris is finally hitting some plays down the field in the passing game. You've got to build on that remedy and that success, and it all comes down to offensive play calling to me. But I think they build off of last week. I think being able to go to Bama and compete, I don't know, y'all can harp more so on whether it was more Bama or South Carolina. Y'all watch more Bama than I do, but you got a lot of momentum out of the end of that game. You're heartbroken, but you're ready for the levee to break. And I think that's what happens this week at Oklahoma. I think they go in and get an actual very comfortable win. Defense gets some sacks early, some tackles for loss, takes the crowd out of the game, and then they just run away with it from there. So South Carolina big in this one. My rant's over. Y'all have at it.
Yeah, I got a couple points I want to make about South Carolina. I think a lot of the stuff that you think about South Carolina is granted and valid based on what you've seen from this team this year. But I don't know if it's the OC that needs to go. I don't know what the fix is for the offense. I'm not trying to be a person that knows all the knowledge about South Carolina like I know you do. But to me, I think the real issue is Sellers. I think he is just right now at a point where he doesn't understand how to control momentum swings, because it's like he tries to take too much advantage, like it's a video game on momentum swings. And they did it in a big moment with the big pass to Harbor down the sideline, which I'm like, I want to see more of that for South Carolina,
Yes.
which I feel like I saw in the LSU game. But once
Yeah.
he got hurt, I don't know if they are constraining him or it's a confidence thing. But to me, he does not value the football. And I think that's an issue that South Carolina has as a quarterback. To me, I think if you now I know these quarterbacks might not be in the same plateau, but if you put a quarterback like Gus Nussmeier from LSU, somebody who I think
Yes.
can really just execute the play that's called easily, I think South Carolina is a different game because of what the defense provides for you. And the defense provides extremely QB pressure, extreme QB pressure, and an overall not giving up too many big plays. And I think that's something that SEC football as a defense you can win with. But to me, when you think about the offense, it was so many times against Bama that I'm not trying to make this a true Bama breakdown, but it was so many times against Bama where I'm just waiting for the dagger play to happen. And like in the Vandy game, they were able to capitalize on those dagger plays, and South Carolina just was not able to capitalize on those dagger plays, even in the simplest moments when Bama's trying to give you the game. So that's what my biggest thing about South Carolina, and I think that Bama has the talent to where South Carolina couldn't execute with what they have on the field and what they saw on their sideline. But I think when you fast forward to this week's game, I think they can execute those plays against Oklahoma because of what Oklahoma has on their sideline. So I think that the play calling has to get more simplified, more bully ball, more run heavy against Oklahoma. And I think we do have to take advantage of the players that we have on our outside, beating them down the field deep. So I think you will have opportunities to beat Oklahoma deep. Now, Oklahoma side, I don't know what the hell we got going on with Oklahoma. I'm really confused about this team on all aspects of the field. To me, as a football team, by this point in the season, you have got to figure out if you can throw the ball. You've got to figure out if you can run the ball. And you've got to figure out how to stop somebody on defense. Three glaring issues for Oklahoma that's really got them in a place where I'm like, their record should be worse than what it is. They started the season off with a couple great wins, but their record should be worse than it is. Against Texas, that game played out exactly how I thought it would be. The score really shouldn't reflect how that game was such a dominant standpoint, except for the fact that Quinn Ewers started off on an extremely, extremely low point. But if they started the game off how they finished the game off, that game would probably be with a 50-10, really, if that's how you really look at that game. So Oklahoma's got a lot of stuff to fix. I do not think they have the offense to stop or get any type of gain against South Carolina's defense. I think the best solution they have is to go back to Jackson Arnold, because he's as shown that in some glimpse he can actually throw the ball the way they need the ball to be thrown. Just give the man time to build. I think if he would have had the season that they should have gave him, I think he would be in a totally different aspect of what they would be in this point right now. So Oklahoma's got a lot of issues. I just don't think South Carolina's the team they're going to fix them against. So South Carolina's defense to me has got auto momentum. I think they're leaving Tuscaloosa feeling like we should have won that game. Getting that one out of the three tough opponents we got coming up for South Carolina, I think they left that one thinking we're so close to it. Let's capitalize in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's in a total standpoint of we're just trying to save our season. So I think South Carolina's gonna win this game by at least 2 touchdowns, as long as they can contain Oklahoma, not really just fall back to old South Carolina standpoint. So what I mean by that is keep a still dominant defense and be able to manage the clock through a strong run game. So I got South Carolina up 2 touchdowns.
You guys have said it great. Oklahoma's defense, I think Oklahoma has a formidable defense, but their offense just allows them no help whatsoever. The first quarter of that game against Texas went exactly like I thought it was going to go in regards to Oklahoma holding up. Now, Quinn Ewers was a little rusty. It was obvious, but I was expecting for Oklahoma to take advantage of that. But you know what? They have no offense whatsoever, so they can't take advantage of anything on the offense side of the ball. They are going to lose and lose miraculously throughout the remainder of the season unless they get that quarterback out of there. I'm not saying the kid's not good. He shows flashes of, being a serviceable quarterback, but he's just not ready for SEC play. He's just not. To your point, Drew, they got to get the other guy in. The problem is, and this is one thing that I think gets is not sold enough. Your head coach made a quarterback change extremely early in the season. Way too early in the season, which leads me to believe that there may have been some confusion in the quarterback room as to who was supposed to who was the starter was going to be from the beginning, right? That's the only reason why you bench your starter in game 2 to go with a true freshman. Somebody in that building felt like the true freshman was going to be the future, and he probably is the future there, maybe, but you know, there's so many problems in Norman. South Carolina, I was extremely impressed with South Carolina and the way that the coaching staff attacked this game against Alabama last week. It was obvious that Shane Beamer said they got to get ready for us. I just got a sneaky suspicion feeling that Shane Beamer has a little more control over his team than the latter. So therefore, I'm with you guys. I'm going with Carolina on the road because of Oklahoma's deficiencies, man. Um, the defense is a really good defense, but the offense gotta give them some help, man. They can't get off the field on second down for all of that. So, I have no respect for Oklahoma right now. But that's not disregarding Carolina, and I think the progress that they're actually making. I got Carolina with the win, 7 to 10 points, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't think Oklahoma will score a touchdown in this game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I do not think that Oklahoma scores one single touchdown. I got them kicking 2 or 3 field goals, and that's going to be about it. It's really sad that we're here with Oklahoma talking about this like this because I just never thought they would just be as inept as they are on offense, but they are absolutely garbage.
Yeah, and last point for this, just the eye to keep on for the South Carolina. They went into the Bama game with 3 points that they wanted to focus on that's been glaring needs all year. One was the third down conversion rate, needing to convert third downs. They improved on that. Pre-snap penalties, they got a couple that cost them late, but that number came down. And the last one that they didn't get on was the turnovers. They've got to stop turning the ball over, especially in critical moments. And it's coming mostly from the quarterbacks fumbling the ball. It's happening week in and week out. I think somebody today put out the stat saying they've had a quarterback fumble in every single game this season. You can't win SEC games like that at all, especially this deep in the season. You got to fix it. But out of the 3, they fixed 2, one most left. I think this is the week that it all starts to come together for South Carolina to go on that run and get that momentum going into the back half of the season. Next game, we've got heading into our afternoon game, 4:15. We got Mississippi State at home taking on Texas A&M. Hey, I don't know if y'all caught some of the Georgia Mississippi State game last weekend. It was really in my eyes interesting. How I don't know if it had more so to do to Georgia than Mississippi State, but Mississippi State has a pretty good quarterback back there. He's kind of shaping into what they want him to do, and it's looking a little better. Now, they didn't get a lot of flash and brass against that Georgia defense. Georgia's got some studs still back there, but Georgia's been known to let teams hang around with them more so than not. But they're at home taking on A&M. A&M, I think, in my opinion, in this game is just going to have too much. I think Texas A&M is at the point right now in their season where they know who they are. They got Connor Wegman back their last game against Mizzou, and he just absolutely obliterated them at home. I see them to build on that momentum. The defense is good. I think Mississippi State is still at a point right now with injuries and being new head coach in the SEC where they're showing some fight, they're showing some spark, but it's not coming together just yet. I got A&M winning this one big. They're a 15-point favorite. I'll take that in this ball game, and they'll move on to the next week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got Texas A&M winning this game. I think they've really found who they are this season, and I think getting their starting quarterback back, I think they're a sneaky team. I think they're a real sneaky team. Looking at this schedule, I think if they can really muster up the strength to get past LSU, I think their schedule all the way up until their last game against Texas keeps them favorable to be a 2 to 3 loss team this year, which is, I think, in Texas A&M eyes, light years ahead of where this organization was looking at last year. So I think, man, Texas A&M is in a good standpoint. Being a Bama fan, I'm just so happy we don't have to face them this year, just because the way we look right now, which I'm gonna hop on that later. But Texas A&M, got everything you want right there in front of you with this season. So let's see what you can do with it. Let's see if you don't drop the ball. I think you got an easy one this week. Take advantage of it.
So Mississippi State, y'all, I said it. It may have been the first podcast of this season. They don't look like nothing right now. But if you watch the scheme, Mississippi State, watch the scheme. Look at what the coaching staff is trying to do. It's completely different from anything that's ever happened at Mississippi State. Maybe Mike Leach was, maybe showed a little bit of it, but this coaching staff is bringing a completely different style of football to start for Mississippi. Now, it's not going to translate this week, but Mississippi State is not about to just stay a bottom dweller in the Southeastern Conference. Okay, they're not. They're not. It's obvious that they're not. The fact that they were able to hang in there with Georgia and continue to compete with Georgia, even when Georgia thought the game was over. Georgia's over here laughing like the game's over with, but little do you know, Mississippi State was only down 10 in the fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a beat down in Athens. You should be beating Mississippi State down. Ain't no reason in the world Mississippi State scores 31 points on any Georgia team. But it happened. All right. This is the parody of the SEC that we're witnessing today, which I think is just amazing. But A&M walks away with this game, but I think Mississippi State is going to fight. Mississippi State, I'm not even going to give them a puncher's chance to win this game, but they're going to throw punches and they're going to fight. And they're not going to give up. They're not going to die like what your previous renditions of Mississippi State football was. Keep your eyeballs on Mississippi State, not this year, maybe not next year. We'll be talking about them 2 years from now if this coaching staff stays together as a team that actually can make some noise in the Southeastern Conference. But it's not going to happen this weekend. I got A&M relatively big in this game by 14 points at a minimum. But I'm liking what I see from Mississippi State.
Moving on to our night slate, we got 7 p.m. Arkansas at home taking on LSU. Arkansas, another night game. Hey, last time they were there at night, they were able to pull off a win against Tennessee. Now you got LSU rolling into town. LSU got off to a slow start. I don't know if it was self-inflicted against Ole Miss. I didn't really catch a lot of that game. But we're able to pull it out at the end. Arkansas is another one of these sneaky teams where they're still kind of hovering around there, kind of just snaking in and out of games, just lulling people to sleep, long drives. Sam Pittman's kind of like, all right, we kind of know how we want to navigate this year to get ready for next year. Can they pull off another surprising upset? Because the line going into this one, LSU's only a field goal favorite, surprisingly, as a top 10 team going into Arkansas. I think that has a lot to do with the respect that they give Arkansas in that night environment that they built there, which is completely different from the beginning of the season, which has done a 180 in my eyes, that the credit I've given them. But hey, they're sneaky getting it around. I think LSU, you can't get too hype into the moment of what happened against that late win game against Ole Miss. Don't get caught wrapped up in it saying, hey, we're good. Your defense played outstanding against Ole Miss. Defense travels in the SEC. Keep building on that. Get Musburger. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Um, get him rolling again. Get Lacey going again. Get into Arkansas. Go ahead, get that confidence rolling for the back half of the season. Um, and go ahead and get a win. I got LSU. I think they just have too much for Arkansas to overcome. And you have an experienced quarterback back there versus what happened with Tennessee, where they were able to kind of exploit Nico being as young as he was. But I think the experience for LSU, that they've been tested through the season already with the LSU game, with the South Carolina game. Now you've got an Ole Miss game under your belt. They've been in these situations before. I think that's what carries them to the win in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think LSU is going to walk away with this one. I think it is a sneaky week, though, for LSU. I think it is a rat poison type of week coming off that emotional type of win versus Ole Miss. And watching the Ole Miss game, I feel like what I really think about LSU is like they got all the pieces to really make a run. I feel like they really got the pieces. One, they got to continue to get healthy. They got to continue to figure out who their identity is really going to be on the defensive side of the ball, which I think Ole Miss game led to a good identity in the defense, what they're really going to be. So I think when you think about this week, it's just kind of just stay the course. Don't let anything slip just because the rest of the season is going to be a tough slate for us. And I think we just get better at what we've been doing. I think the pass game for LSU is their strongest point that we can point to. They still don't have the full healthy receiver core that they looked at the beginning of the season. So I think there's still things that we can point to when it comes to LSU that we can make them favorites in the SEC, and how the SEC has been shaping out to kind of figure out where that's going to be on who's going to be in Atlanta for this team. So I think they got a shot at it. This week is a week they can't slip up on. I got LSU winning by 3 touchdowns, but I think Arkansas is going to make it interesting early. A slow start by LSU, a ground and pound type of momentum for Arkansas coming off a bye. They got a great game plan to execute early. So LSU just don't slip up this week.
I'm not completely sold on LSU yet. Arkansas at home at night, man. I'm going completely opposite. I got Arkansas taking this one. Y'all know I love Sam Pittman. And Sam Pittman just needs his time and his opportunities to shine. And this is one. This is one. He can catch LSU slipping this weekend. He can catch it slipping. They're gonna come out slow. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I'm completely sold on anything Arkansas has going on as a dominant force, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. But what I will say is Sam Pittman got these guys kind of believing in what he's trying to do. Now, it's taken 4 years for it to happen, and he's still not there yet. But I do believe that Arkansas is on the right trajectory, and they're going to catch LSU at the right time, coming off of a big win. This is when SEC teams lose games they shouldn't. Middle of the pack SEC teams lose games just like this on the road at night. I got Arkansas winning this game in a squeaker, 3 points. It's going to come down to a field goal late. But I got Arkansas basically taking LSU out of the playoff hunt this weekend.
All right, and then moving on to our another night game. We got Vandy at home taking on Ball State. Vandy, I'm not on the bandwagon yet, and the only reason I'm not on the bandwagon yet is because y'all still got to play us, and we got to come there. South Carolina still got to go to Vandy, and we'll get to that later on in the season. But you're at home, Vandy. Get your fans in. Tickets only $3. $3 for a ticket. Make your way off of $2. Hey, make your way down there. Go enjoy this home game because y'all got a little bit of a stretch coming up. The one thing I do want to say about Vandy is, to me, they were able to catch Kentucky, and I think Kentucky's just in one of those teams that I've never believed in from the beginning of the season. They've got their quote unquote sneak wins throughout the year, but Vandy knows exactly who they want to be game in and game out. It's a scheme thing. It's not that they are overwhelmed with all these talented players on their roster. It's just they know their scheme. They have the perfect players to run the scheme that they want to do. And this is exactly going back to the South Carolina issue that I brought up a minute ago, where Clark Lee figured out he couldn't do the same things year in and year out that he's been doing the last couple of times at Vandy, as far as coaching staffs and saying we're just going to be a dominant defensive team and that's what he wants to build. He sat down and was like, hey, we got to score some points. So he went out, got him an offensive guy, went out, got a quarterback from with that offensive guy that does the exact same way that he wants to call games. And you're seeing the payoff. You're seeing the transition game in and game out. You see the smooth offense of, hey, we know what we want to do. We know we want to just hit you in small spots here and there, and we're going to be efficient. Our third down efficiency is one of the top in the conference right now. You even look at their running game. Pavia is their leading pass. He's got over 1,000 yards already, but he's also their leading rusher with only 388 yards. So they're not daggering you like overpoweringly. It's just they know what they need to do to squeak stuff out and win the game. They'll get a good one. This will be a ruckus crowd down there. They who knows? They might take the goalpost down again just for this win, just to celebrate. They're still going everything on their tour. They're on every news channel and interviews on every which way, national news, little news, everywhere. And enjoy this one because y'all got Texas after this, and I think that's where the party kind of comes to a halt after this one. But they'll get this one. They've got, I think, the largest spread right now in the SEC. Yeah, they 26-point favorites. They'll take care of Ball State. It'll be a party down there again. It's another night game. Enjoy it while y'all can, because it might come to an end sooner rather than later. But enjoy it now, especially because it's Vandy. Vandy, welcome to the SEC. Y'all joined the party officially. We enjoying it too. We watching.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Vandy is such an interesting team now. Nobody cares about Ball State. Nobody cares about this week for Vandy. It's gonna be a dub. Throw it in the bag. It's gonna be easy win for them. But I think when you think about their season, Van, I think yes, they do got some juggernauts coming. But I think, man, if there's ever SEC schedule that is so favorable for a team to make a couple good upsets, I think Vandy is in prime position for it. To say that you have to face Bama, Texas, LSU, Tennessee all in the same season is one thing. But to honestly say that we only got to go on the road one of those games is actually best case scenario. So you got a couple of shots that we're going to be able to get at some good teams. And I think one thing we really look at this quarterback in the transfer portal and how they were to put this team together, I think the biggest point for Vandy is just how they take care of the ball. You know, they really just focus on just not turning over the ball, not beating ourselves, and we're going to be in games. And I think that's what they're going to try to continue with the rest of the season. Now, I don't think they're going to be no juggernaut to go in there and beat some of these teams. I don't think they could beat Texas. I don't think they could beat LSU. I don't think they could beat Tennessee. But I do think they can rattle off a couple more wins, and I think they got to put themselves in position to have a bowl type season for Vandy. That could be such a big win for Vandy, what their trajectory is going to be, and still be an attractive spot for transfers. I think that's what the rest of the season is going to really be, being in some of these primetime spotlights, having some of these big-time schools come to you. People are going to have eyes on you this season. So I think it's the perfect time to really cement who you're going to be and who you're trending to be for Vandy. And I think this week just continues that before we do have a juggernaut coming next week in Texas. So Vandy, keep the ball rolling. I said once y'all beat us, I'm a Vandy fan for the rest of the season, so I want to continue to see y'all win, and I want to continue to see Nashville turn up. So I want to see some more goalposts down the street, maybe in the river, if we can get a couple more big wins, and let's see what Vandy can do. So I got them winning big this week.
The thing about Vanderbilt that is so intriguing to me is it's kind of like Georgia Tech when they was running the triple option. This is some sort of hybrid triple option type offense. You got a quarterback that could do a few things, and you got an offensive coordinator that wants to be multiple in regards to the run game. And it's going to be problematic. Nobody is going to take too much time out of their schedule, their pregame schedule, to work on the triple option. That's the problem. That's why Vandy's had success, because no one's really taking them seriously, right? But it's a gimmicky offense. It's an old school offense. And if you're not gap sound, you know what I'm saying? They're going to get 5 yards a carry. And 5 yards a carry in the SEC or any conference in America is going to equal time of possession. It's going to equal at least field goals, which are going to keep you in the game. If you're owning time of possession, you're going to win some football games. And if you don't know where the ball is, if you're not filling all the gaps, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get beat. Vandy, they've come in to the conference this year with something that they've never come with. Honestly speaking, nobody runs this offense in the Southeastern Conference, and I can't tell you when the last time I've seen a triple option type of situation in the Southeastern Conference. They just kind of came out the blue with this stuff. And that's why it's catching folks off guard. And I don't care who you are. The opponent, they're going to blow their opponent out this week. I got Vandy with the win for sure. But coming up, you got teams that are like kind of scrambling to say, hey, we got to kind of scrap everything that we normally do in a preparation perspective week to week, because we got to deal with this different type of offense. And as long as Vandy continues to perfect what they do, they're going to be problematic for even teams that they should not beat. They're going to be there. Vandy ain't going nowhere. And on top of that, they got confidence. And their coach is doing a great job of building off of that confidence. And this team, they kind of hype. I mean, they kind of ready for whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you got the right scheme in the right conference at the right time. Now, Drew, you're right. The schedule is not going to present you a lot of favors. But how much time does Texas have to prepare for the triple option? How much time, how much time do y'all really have to prepare for this, knowing you got somebody else the next week? I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to really boil down to what the opposing coaching staffs are going to commit to playing Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't commit enough resources to preparing for Vanderbilt, you might lose. So next year is a completely different story. Vanderbilt is hitting everybody in the conference at the right time, at the right pace. All that's happening at the right time. Next year, you'll figure this shit out. You'll figure it out, and it won't work. But this year, Vanderbilt is going to continue to upset some teams and ruin some dreams. And I think it's crazy, but that's what they're trying to do right now. And they have the confidence, the coaching staff, the players to get all of that shit done. Right? So, hey, this is going to be nothing but a momentum builder for Vanderbilt to whoop their opponent this week. And whoever the SEC opponent is next week, man, if y'all ain't in the film room right now working on Vanderbilt, which you're not, because you got another opponent you got to deal with this week. You ain't got but 2 or 3 days to prepare for Vanderbilt. That's problematic, y'all. Vanderbilt ain't going nowhere this season. I'm excited to see it. I'm the 16th fan. Yeah, I'm there. Vanderbilt with the dub, man. Let's go.
Hey, I hear you. All right. So our last night game before we get over into our games of the week, which will be in a separate video, is Florida at home taking on Kentucky. These are two teams right now that I think are an absolute mess. I don't know what Kentucky is. One week they decide they want to play football. The next week they don't. I can't imagine how bad that game looked at home, a night game at home against Vandy. You let Vandy come in and just control the pace of the game from start to finish. Wasn't even that high of a scoring of a game, but it just looked like it just looked from the offensive side of the ball from Kentucky that you just did not know what you want to do. Like you just outclassed. You just kind of there going through the motions, everything, such and that. I think it just boils down to coaching and what Mark Stoops. I think he's checked out. of this season. Um, let's see what's going on. All right, we right back in it. Had a little technical difficulties there, but we back. Back into this Florida and Kentucky game. Kentucky just looks lost. Florida, you lose Graham Mertz for the season with a torn ACL, which I think maybe been I don't want to call it a blessing, especially off of an injury, but you get DJ Lagway without the competition aspect of it of saying who do you start going week in and week out with the promise of the young guy versus the veteran that's been there for a couple years now. And he came in and did some nice things, but at the same time, still looking like a freshman a lot of the times out there on the field. But still was able to keep that game close. This might be, I mean, hey, you might get another win if you're Florida in this one, just because it's at home at night. Kentucky's given them problems in the past. But you may be able to squeak this one out. This was one, go back a couple weeks right now. I would say this would have been a loss looking at Kentucky look. They just look defeated in their game against Vandy from a team standpoint, the morale standpoint of the game. They look like they just eating it out. And that was a home night environment, black jerseys going on. You're supposed to be into it. It just looks like they've kind of already given up on this year. And that's a recipe for success when you comes to Florida trying to get another win this year. Because especially after this one, you've rattled off what four straight ranked opponents that are all know who they are and know what they want to do to you. So I honestly, as much as I don't want to, I'm gonna go with Florida in this one. They proved a little something to me with some fight that they had against Tennessee on the road. You know, you coming back home. I think they can get this one against a Kentucky team that seems to have halfway through the season thrown in their cards on the table and say, "Hey, we fold. Let's get out of here." So I got Florida winning this one.
Yeah, there's two things about this game that I'm absolutely excited about. First thing is that beginning of the season, this was Florida to me their last win. In that, I can say, looking at how Florida State is, Florida, you might have a chance for another win down the season. That's number one. Number two, one thing that makes me so happy about this game is that there's another 7:30 good game on, so I don't have to watch this junk right here because there's two teams that I think are just bottom of the barrel SEC. And I think Kentucky, you want to give them some type of consistency credit, but they just not that type of team this season, and that's proven. In Florida, yes, Graham Mertz got injured and he's out for the season, which I think is, as for him, what his future is terrible. But I think the best thing for Florida to do is be able to get to a point where we can turn the page. And you never want to say injury is the thing that's going to get us to the point where we can say he shouldn't be there no more. But at the same point, we do have to say, okay, as a team, how do we turn the page? And I think the best talented person on our roster is about to start getting full starter reps now in DJ Langway. So I think he's something that can be positive on, but I think he's going to go through freshman struggles. But as a freshman, you're going to go through your toughest stretch probably ever in your 3-year career these next couple weeks. So let's get the toughness out now and let's find something else to be positive about. But I think I got Florida winning this game by a field goal, maybe touchdown late. But I don't think it's going to be too spectacular in this game. I think you're just going to kind of just see two teams just fighting and clawing for a win. I think that's sometimes where you find the best SEC football is just teams that's just fighting for a win, nothing else to lose but just your pride. So Florida win this game. We'll get to the big games, but what they did against Tennessee was eye-opening. So I think that's why I'm kind of on their side of this one right here going forward.
Yeah, man, believe it or not, I was completely down on Florida this season, and I didn't think they had a chance and you know what to win, 3 games. You know, I'm if you've got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. To your point, Drew and Van, both y'all, you know what I'm saying? Graham Mertz getting hurt, probably the best thing that could happen to this team. And I never really want to preface anything like that in regards to an injury. But because the coaching staff could not come down with a solid starter at the most important position on the field prior to, I think that hurt Florida. I think it hurt Florida last year. I think it's hurt them this year. I still don't have a lot of confidence in Florida, but I have less confidence, believe it or not, in Kentucky. And I'm saying believe it or not. I'm talking about the lesser of two evils here. This is bad. This is bad football. Florida is going to win this game. And I don't know where Kentucky goes from here. You know what I'm saying? Is Mark Stoops the guy? You know, we talked about it earlier, not just this podcast this season, but even last year. We're talking about Mark Stoops and, you know, is Kentucky just okay with making it to a bowl game? Is Kentucky just okay with being ranked at some point in time in the season? Is that good enough for Kentucky in football? If it is, it is. That's fine. Just let us know. Let us know so we can go ahead and put y'all where y'all deserve to be, which is toward the bottom of the conference. If you guys are interested in joining the party, which is a very crowded party right now, Vanderbilt's included in this party now, which y'all just lost to. Where Kentucky? Where do you sit? Where do you want to be? Right now, it's looking like toward the bottom of the conference. And I don't think y'all paying Mark Stoops the money y'all paying him to be at the bottom of the conference. So what gives, man? I got Florida.
All right, that sounds good. Well, hey, that wraps up our slate of our regular scheduled games for the SEC. We'll get into our games of the week here in a minute. But thank y'all for tuning in. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, stay with us. We're halfway through. Let's enjoy this back half. It's been interesting so far. So hey, let's keep it rolling. Until then, we'll see y'all next week.